Hey guys, I've got a quick beginner tip for you about leveling the bed on your 3D printer. You don't need any special tools or materials, just a slight tweak to the standard method that can help you get better, faster results. If your printer has built-in automatic bed leveling, you're probably all set and don't need this tip. I personally have a 5-year-old Voxelab Aquila, basically a clone of an Ender 3 base model, and it does require manual bed leveling. One of the first things you learn when you're a beginner is to take your trusty sheet of regular computer paper, because the thickness is about 0.1 millimeter, and use it as a feeler gauge for the nozzle to bed gap at the four corners. I'm assuming that you're using a nozzle with 0.4 millimeter orifice, which is the most common on hobby printers. The standard advice is send the nozzle to the home position, which is just the 0 position for the X, Y, and Z axes. Disable the stepper motors, and manually move the hot end along the X-axis rail and the bed frame along the Y-axis rail to align the nozzle with the 4 adjustment screws. This is okay, you can definitely get by with this method, and it's what I did at the start. But there is a slight problem with this method. When you disable the stepper motors to allow manual movement, your Z-axis motor is also disabled, which means there's a chance you're moving the nozzle height up or down slightly, changing the clearance between the nozzle and the bed, leading to inaccurate bed leveling. This can become even more pronounced if you need to go around the four corners several times, which is pretty common. Also, if your printer only has one lead screw on the drive side like mine does, manually pushing the hot end around can cause the X-axis rail to sag a little, all things we do not want. What I would recommend instead is to keep the stepper motors engaged after homing the axes, and to use the printer controls to jog the nozzle over to each corner. That way the Z height stays locked in, and you can be sure you're not accidentally changing it throughout the process. Since I started using this technique, I've been able to level my four corners faster and get more consistent first layers. One extra tip: try not to use the exact same X and Y positions every time. In other words, you should choose slightly different numbers from one bed leveling procedure to the next, to avoid the risk of wearing out the glass in the exact same spot over time. For example, for the first corner I might choose X equals 30.5 millimeters one time, and then X equals 29.7 millimeters the next time. With that established, I'll walk you through my full bed leveling routine. Follow along to start getting clean, reliable first layers every time. Check to make sure your bed doesn't wobble when you try to nudge it gently in various directions. If it does wobble, you need to correct that first. Most likely this will involve tightening a loose eccentric nut on one of the wheels that secures the bed frame to the Y-axis rail. Preheat the nozzle and bed, if it is heated, to your intended printing temperatures. For the Hatchbox PLA I'm using, I prefer 195°C for the nozzle and 55°C for the bed. Clean the bed with a paper towel and isopropyl alcohol, making sure your hand does not touch the hot nozzle. If needed, raise the hot end up using the Z-axis motor. Wait for those temperatures to reach steady state, say 5 minutes. Verify that the nozzle is clean. It's going to screw up your bed leveling if there is any plastic residue on the nozzle. With the nozzle hot, you can use a damp cloth to wipe it clean, again making sure not to burn your hand. If there is any plastic actually oozing out of the nozzle, retract the filament a few millimeters, either by manually turning the extruder knob with stepper motors disabled, or by using the controls to move the extruder in the negative direction. Lay your piece of paper down at the front left corner of the bed, or whichever corner your printer uses for home. Use the controller to send the nozzle to the home position. Again, do not disable the stepper motors. Use the controls to move the nozzle over to the closest adjustment screw, which for me is going to be about 30 millimeters in both the X and Y directions. Move the paper around and feel for a slight drag on the nozzle. Adjust the knob until it feels just right, not loose, not tight. Move on to the next corner, again using the controls. For mine, I'll move my X-axis motor to about 190 millimeters. Repeat the process with the paper and adjustment knob. Repeat for the other two corners. If you had to make any height adjustments, I highly recommend checking the first corner again, and probably going around all the four corners again. This is the bed leveling process I use before every print, and I've had great results with it. Give it a try and let me know down in the comments if it helps you out, as well as what your biggest 3D printing challenges are. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.